Good day and welcome back to Elementary 72. Now this is going to be my Tower of God Season 2 series video. There's going to be one video with spoilers and one video without spoilers. So please keep a heads up on it because I will launch the non-spoiler first and then the spoiler will follow. There's a simple reason behind me doing both. That's because I don't want to actually ruin the entire experience for you. Tower of God is a massive franchise that I really love watching, so you're not going to get me spoiling it intentionally. Okay, so let's get into it. So we kick off season 2 a little bit strange because we get a recap of what happened at the end of season 1. We see Bam being pushed by Rachel. Now, if you haven't watched season 1, what are you doing watching season 2? Go watch season 1, watch season 2, then you'll understand what's going on in the tower. So yeah, here we go. So we get a recap of Rachel pushing Bam, and we see that he fell in the Shinsu, and they basically declared him dead. We see the mourning going on with all of his friends, and immediately after that we cut away from him, and we end up on the 20th floor where we're following Wagnan Ja, or Uji Arada. Right? Now, I'm not sure exactly why he has that name, but we'll find out later on. Actually, no, I don't think we'll find out at all. I know why it's happening because between Japanese and Korean culture, there's a lot of tension, so they end up changing the names between the two languages. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure what's the story on him exactly for this. So yeah, they changed his name for the Japanese edition, and it does end up giving you problems because Wagner Ja could have another meaning from the author later on, like Bam is a very important name, and they changed him to Euro, and I honestly don't really like the fact that they changed him to a different name because his name has a lot of meaning implied just from the Korean, and Japanese doesn't have a word of similar connotation or ambiguity to use the exact same phrasing. So yeah, it could end up blowing up in their face where things don't make sense. So yeah, we'll continue on to the next part. So moving on from there, we meet Wagnan, and he bumps into a delivery girl. He introduces himself, and then we see him taking a test. Now, the family that he was dealing with was a flame family. I'm not going to give you the name of the individual or the family because it wasn't spelled out, but he did call her flamethrower. So I'm going to call her flamethrower for now. The reason why I'm not going to give you the name is it is available if you go and look it up. It is even in the credits. So if you wanted to find out, you'll find out who she is. But nonetheless, I'm just going to leave it ambiguous. So the flamethrower ended up in the same exam as Wagnan, and she ended up burning the entire place down, including Wagnan himself. This year ended up causing Wagnan to be disqualified, and he failed the exam. Now, because he failed the exam, which costs quite a bit, he is now in debt on the 20th floor. So he has to pay off his debts to the Lurker company. And by doing this here, he ends up going into another test immediately after, because he's given the choice to pay Lurker off immediately, or he can sell his organs. Literally, he's going to kill him and cut out every organ from his body just to pay off his debts. So that is what's being offered to Wagner. So Wagner decides to take it because he cannot give up on climbing the tower. He wants to become an E-rank regular and continue going till he's A class. And once he's A class, he wants to become the king of the tower. He wants to topple Jahad himself. So he's in line with the bad guys of the tower's ideals. So the next thing that we're going to get on this year is him taking part in the next test. Now, the person who he enters into the room with, I know the name, but I'm not going to give it to you as well, is a member of a criminal syndicate called Fug. Now, Fug is not actually called Fug or Fug. It is called F.U.G. And we know that the G within F.U.G is Grace. I am willing to do that spoiler because that there comes from notes which you're never going to hear inside the entire story. So yeah, so that is it. It's Grace. So that's what the organization is in, something Grace. And this person is one of their criminal masterminds. He is a Slayer candidate. Now, Slayer candidate is a title given to them because they are given the authority by their group, FUG, to kill the 10 great family heads. Now, we've already learned about who the family heads are in the previous season, and that's exactly what the whole idea is. We know that that this here exists because we've been given the heads up already that they oppose Jahad and the 10 great families. Their whole idea is to kill all of them. And just for a little bit of a recap from lore, which isn't really a big spoiler, the Slayers all get numbered 1 to 13. Sorry, no, 1 to 11. And the reason for this here is each one of them is meant to take out one of the 10 great family heads and Jahad. So that is how the Slayers are organized. And we don't know what the Slayer candidate's proposed number is, because as he fights on, he'll end up getting assigned a number, and we'll then find out who he is supposed to take down, who is his enemy, what is his grudge, what is his purpose in FUG. Now, FUG does engage in a lot of crimes as part of the story. They are considered the greatest crime syndicate in the tower. There's still a lot more to come, and I'm not going to say anything further, but yeah, that's about it. The next thing that we have is the next few people who enter the room. We have an individual who enters the room after Wagner enters, who is a big-sized guy with a floating symbol on his back. Now, the symbol changes shape every time his emotions change, and I remember that it changed to a heart, it changed to a shield, it changed to a shoe with wings. So those were the several shapes that we saw. I'm not sure what the first shape was. It could have been a wing to start with, but I'm not 100% sure. So yeah, that object kept changing shape, and it kept changing the nature of that individual's Shinsu. So yeah, we saw that there as part of how he fights. So that's the second person who enters. Third, we have the small kid, and fourth, we have Glasses. Now, I'm going to call her Glasses because it's a girl with glasses. And the small kid who showed up in a school uniform, which is why they couldn't attack her, because she's just a small little kid who they don't have the guts to hit. And last but not least comes Umbrella. So Umbrella shows up, and he decides to start making a big din inside the room by telling them to get rid of the weak ones. Now, I'm not sure exactly as to the reasoning behind it, but it looks like he wanted less competition going up, or he wanted an easier go at it with stronger members to help him keep going. At this point, we know what happens. He ensues that he is going to make Wagner fail, because Wagner said that he voted him out. And it's at that point that they start fighting. Now, when the fighting starts is where everything goes totally off the rails, and I'm going to give you that answer right now, because immediately when this happens, the FUG Slayer decides to say that they're all going to fail, and he reveals his colors. His FUG symbol shows, and they realize they are in extreme danger, because he is one of the most dangerous people who could be around. And if he is considered one of their Slayers, that means he's really, really powerful. And even if he's just a Slayer candidate, that means he's quite powerful for a regular. And he instantly shows that he is way more powerful. He's a wave controller, and the wave control skills that he uses are absolutely crazy. We get to see a big flash bang of wave control that knocks out Umbrella's attack, and then we see him reinforce himself with Shinsu and punch Floaty Guy's lights out. So he takes them both out, and then he's chasing Wagner, and Wagner drops some cheap fireballs on him, and it ends up exploding on the Slayer candidate. Now, I am going to make one little alteration on this whole story. Wagner is actually supposed to throw a very expensive, very powerful Shinsu bomb at him, and the Shinsu bomb is supposed to have no effect, and he keeps throwing whatever he has, and eventually he drops a cheap gumball bomb, not a fire bomb, a gumball bomb on the Slayer candidate, and that takes him down for a few seconds. Now, I don't know why they altered that or why they took it out, but it did make a big difference in the story, because we find out that this person has Shinsu resistance, and extreme Shinsu resistance at that. So yeah, we find out that he's extremely resistant to Shinsu, but we also find out that he uses fisherman techniques when fighting. He also uses his wave controller skills whenever he wants to. So we know that this is a very odd person, a fisherman wave controller mix, somewhere in that league. Okay, so that is where the test ends, and this individual jumps in the elevator and he starts going up. When he's going up, we see flashbacks of Wagner greeting him. We see a flashback of Rachel and a flashback of Kun. Now, obviously that has some connotation, but I'm not going to spell it out for you. And yeah, we're going to leave it there for now. I'll catch you all next week with whatever I have to do with talking about that basics. Actually, no, I'm not going to catch you next week. I will continue with the story next week from that point, but let's break down exactly everything that we've seen. We've seen that these regulars in that first test are absolutely weak, right? They are nowhere near the level required to actually go up. We know that at least 3 of them in that room are really powerful, and we know that Wagner is not in that same class. However, we know he's a key character because he's on the base art, so we know he will be continuing with the climb up the tower. And we know that the story is the story of Bam and Rachel, so we get a hint that they're going to have a very important relationship with this guy. So yeah, that's about all that I have for now. So we're going to get a lot more coming up with this whole story, with the next part that's coming up, because this is still an exam, and this is only part 1 of the exam that finished, and then we're going to get into part 2. Now, just talking about part 1, we know that Wagner is extremely desperate to continue on with this exam and win. We know that the Fug Slayer is under orders to make everybody fail, as far as we can tell, so he's going to make everybody else fail. We have a suspicion that the Fug Slayer is Bam because of the flashback, which I don't think they should have put into this episode. It would have been better to hold off that flashback until the end of the next episode, because doing the flashback now kind of ruins the whole story for us, because when we first read it in the comic, we were wondering, where is Bam? Where is Bam? We want to see Bam. We want to see Bam. And they've kind of taken that out of the whole situation. Yes, if you didn't realize it, the 3 images that he saw were Bam, were implying that he is Bam, right? And it is going to be that way, as I can say that right now, as it isn't really a spoiler, because we get the impact that he's thinking about how Kun greeted him, how Rachel greeted him, and how Wagner greeted him, and the fact that he wanted to be Wagner's friend. It's kind of ironic that that's how we find out that he's Bam, and I really am upset that they did it now instead of later in the season. So yeah, that's about it. We'll catch you all in the next one, where there will be a bigger breakdown, hopefully, depending on how far we get in the second and third tests. So see you all then. Have a good day.